Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks, for another leather adventure. And today we're continuing on the pirate cuffs. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, so we're to the point now in this project. You can see where I've transferred my artwork from the last video. I did put a groove in here because I'm going to put some decorative spots, silver spots on that later when we get to that point. But we're ready to start doing our carving, and to do that we're going to use a swivel knife, and I'm going to use some jeweler's rouge on a scrap piece of leather, and I'm going to strop my knife blade and get it good and polished up. You can see the light shining off of it, so it's good and polished, ready to go. I am going to take both cuffs, which both cuffs have the artwork embossed in it, and I'll case those. And again, casing, I just want to get the top layer of the leather moist. You don't want it saturated. You can see it changing color, and I'll show you that side by side here. And you can see the one that's been cased and the one that has not. The one here is cased with water. I'll set it aside, let it come back to its natural color, then we can start carving on it. While that's doing that, I'll go ahead and case the second cuff. And again, what this will do is it'll allow that knife to penetrate that top layer of leather very easily and let it slide right around that artwork. So I'll set that one aside, put my sponge up, and you can see this one's already starting to come back to its natural color. Once it starts coming back to its natural color, I can go ahead and start my carving. On my swivel knife, I like to rest my pointer finger in the stirrup, grab it between my thumb, my middle finger, my ring finger, and that gives me control to twist that. So this swivel knife spins and swivels so that you can go around turns and tight corners. So I'll start where it's most comfortable, and this is a beveled blade, and what that's going to do is as I cut around that image, and I can move my piece as I go, and you notice I'm cutting toward myself. Keep my fingers and thumbs out of the way, and I'm following those lines that I put in there. When we transferred the artwork, and depending on the detail may depend on how deep or how much pressure you want to put on that knife blade or that swivel knife, because with that beveled blade it does open that top layer of leather up. And what that's going to allow is for us to get some of our stamp tools, like a beveler, in there and start making this image more 3D. So I'll follow those indents that I transferred from my artwork. And I'm hoping I'm keeping my hands out of the way so you can see what I'm doing, and I'll show you here as soon as I get a couple of these lines in. And as I said in a previous video, I didn't put any teeth in the artwork because they were so small. So what I'll do is I'll actually go back with my knife and put those in. So there you can see the difference between what I have carved and what I have not carved. This is just the transferred artwork, and then you can see where I'm already starting to get some 3D depth in there. So I'll continue my carving. And again, this is one of those things that I'm still not super comfortable doing because I haven't done a lot of it. But it's one of those things, the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to get with it. The more comfortable I am with it anyway, the more that I do, and I try to not do super detailed stuff as I'm learning how to do this. Now if you go back again to the guitar strap video and watch the carving on that one's got some pretty good detail in it, but it took quite a while to carve that. So I'll just continue to follow those lines. And again, I'm going to follow the detail in the mouth, and then I'll go back and I'll show you how I put the teeth in. And then when you get into small things like the nose here, just want to make sure you really take your time. And then the tight circles where the eyes are, you want to make sure that you keep turning. I turn my knife and my piece so I can get a decent circle. As you can see, this eye here, I just went around. I haven't done this one yet. So we'll go ahead and cut the second one. And as you're cutting with your swivel knife, if you feel like it's not cutting very well, you can flip it over and use the other end of your blade, or you can stop and polish it again. You can strop it again and that'll sharpen it right back up. So here's the first one. And you can see it doesn't have any teeth in it. So I'm going to go ahead and take my knife and I'm not going near as deep. And then I'll just cut those in just freehand. Now you can see the teeth. So that one's cut in. This piece has come back to its natural color, so it's ready to be cut out. So I'll do the same thing with it, and then I'll be back. Alright, so there's the second one done. And now that we have all of our carving done, now we can take a beveling tool, stamp, and we can go around the outside of all of my carvings. I'm going to get my granite so I have a good hard surface to stamp on. Now's when this comes in real handy to give you a good solid surface to do your bevel stamping. And I'm just barely tapping on that as I go around. And staying in that groove. That I cut in there with my swivel knife. And you can move your piece around, as you can see I'm doing, as you go around the corners. And what this is doing is it's beveling out those outside edges, and it gives it a real pronounced 3D look. So you've already cut it with your swivel knife, and your swivel knife's kind of got the blade's got a bevel on it. Now you're coming back and you're putting a more pronounced bevel on the outside as you go along and just follow those cuts that you made with your swivel knife. And then you can go through and bevel the detail if you'd like. And again, all you're doing is you're making this pronounced 3D effect with this stamp tool. And I am going to lightly do the mouth, but I will not attempt to do anything with the teeth. You saw how I cut those in, and what that's going to do is it's going to leave that mouth raised where the teeth are. So it makes it look like the teeth are sticking out, which gives it a really cool look. Alright, so that one has been beveled. The other thing I'm going to do to this is I'm going to take this pear shading tool stamp, and it's smooth. I have another one that's textured. This one's smooth. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take the eyes and I'm going to go around where I cut around the eyes, and I'm going to pear shade those down, and that will again highlight that 3D effect of the eyes. I'll show you that up close. You can see how it darkened the eyes, and you can see how they're a little sunken in there. So that really gives it a neat 3D effect. Now you could go back and you could do a little more beveling on some of these interior lines if you'd like, just to give it a little more punch, a little more 3D effect. Some like to go back and do the beveling on both sides of the line. So wherever you beveled on the outside, go back and bevel toward the inside, so your cut line is beveled on both sides. And on some artwork, something like this that has some pretty decent sized lines, obviously it's tougher when you get into some small detailed stuff, but something like this that has some decent lines on it, it can really make your artwork stand out even more. So I'll do that on this one real quick, show you what it looks like. Give you an idea. And it's just like you did on the outside, except you just turn your beveling stamp over and face it toward the inside of the line. And then there it is, beveled on both sides. And then the eyes pear shaded. So that piece is done as far as the carving and stamping. So I'll do the beveling, stamping on this one, and then I'll be back. Alright, so both of these have been swivel knife cut. Both of them have been bevel stamped, and then I used the pear shading stamp for the eyes to indent them, and I left the mouth sticking out so it looked really 3D, and I hope you can kind of see that. It's hard to see in the camera, but then I have some dyeing to do, and I'm going to put the silver spots on after we do the dyeing. So that's it for this step. So thanks for coming along, seeing how I do my swivel cuts on my artwork and do some simple stamping to bring that 3D art out. And you can see they turned out really good, and get them in the light there. You can see how 3D they look. So those are going to look great. Come on back, check out the next episode as we go into dyeing and putting some spots on there. So please, like I always say, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.